Time to keep on keeping on, so we're gonna have to pull this little guy out. Oh, put her in the right direction. So we'll take that out, and they sent the other training pan bolt with it, so we'll remove this. It says, do not remove bracket until transmission bolted to the engine or pump damage will occur under the penalty of law. Well, it looks like that sticker's gonna stay for a moment. We'll put this back in. We'll give that a snug-a-dugga. Make sure our torque converter still turns here. And it does, so that's good. And then what I'm going to do, because it's difficult to show, is we're gonna line this up with one of the holes. And then I'm gonna tighten up the torque converter. Now they gave us new bolts. Where are you guys? Somewhere's over here. So we have our new bolts with the Loctite on them. So I'm gonna take and just put those in back through the starter hole. Then we're gonna put our plastic shields back on either side of the transmission. Put that plastic shield in. Of course, torque converter's tight now. Put this plastic shield back in and then set the starter back in there. I think we're in the home stretch. We'll put this little fella back on. Hopefully that's the right way. I believe it is. We'll stick this on, and then we have to do our transfer case. I guess we can stick that back in. Have to do a little bit more manual scraping. It is aluminum, so you have to be careful with the cookie wheels and such. I'm going to go along here and make sure everything's clean. We don't want to leak, that's for sure. We'll slide our new gasket up on here. Only goes one way, so you can't screw that up. These are not evenly spaced. Okay, no great way to put a transfer case in. They're kind of awkward to put on a training jack, so we just pick them up and in. But these ones you can set back on the torsion bar bracket, kind of take a break and then, you know, pick it up. Usually you can get it started on the output shaft here and then rotate it where you need it and then slide it on the studs typically. But they are pretty stout, pretty heavy little suckers. Just don't forget your gasket. Stick it up and over. And then that dang shift cable got me. Come on, baby. Okay. I just gotta move this shift cable. And then we can rotate it around. Should be able to. Get it where you need it, and then you're done. Make sure we didn't damage the gasket. Whoops. I think it's okay. Looks good for my house. So once you get all the nuts on, so there's three, I think 6 or 7 of those, it goes all the way around. You've got to run the harness back around. There's a few speed sensors. There's one back there. There's one up here on the output. There's another one, well, right up here on the tail shaft. So there's 3 of those, and then you've got the connector for the transfer case shift motor. And then put the Christmas tree fasteners back in, you know, in the connector there, and then this harness here, as well as the vent tube that runs right here in that little notch to the transfer case. The shift control cable runs up and over there. And there is a vent, so the rubber vent up there at the top. I can set this light down, I guess. This one here, you know, goes into that fastener up there. And that's pretty well it. This bracket we had unbolted off the transfer case, if you remember, so I bolted that back down. But that's it. Transfer case goes in pretty quick. Now we can install the lower mount that goes back on here. Make sure it's facing the right direction. We can put our exhaust in, throw the drive shafts in, and boom, we're done. Somebody was nice enough to draw an arrow on this one for us, so that works out pretty well. Sometimes it doesn't matter if there's a front or rear, but sometimes it does. And it's just as easy to mark them when you take them off, instead of getting it all together to find out like it's just a whisker off. That didn't work, did it? Try this again. Here we go. Maybe a little Loctite on them so they go in a little bit hard there. Don't fall. That's it, baby. Let's get the bolts on that thing. I'm sure you guys remember on the passenger side you have to remove the oxygen sensor here. I think I can reach up through the fender liner. I put a tiny bit of never sees on those threads. And don't forget your donut on this side either. You have a big old exhaust leak if you do. But I've got these all tightened up. Just got to tighten up this O2 sensor, we'll get that threaded in. And then before we go any further, we'll go ahead and put the cross member in it. We got to hook up the O2 sensors and we'll put the cross member in it. Let me get this thing snugged up. That's all threaded in my hand. We need to put the front drive shaft back in, and in order to do that we need to reuse our clamp that we took off. Now you can elect to buy these new, or some people put zip ties in them. I just reopen them. It's not imperative that they hold back like a fluid or anything like that. So we just kind of open these back up, and then we can reuse it. There's that. Let me get the yoke in the front here. Just reach up and click it back in the notch, okay? Now line it up with this one in case he takes it to a car show. You know, where they stick the mirror under the truck and stuff. And then we have a special pair of pliers. It's these little guys here, if you guys can see them. We just give that a squeeze. Boom. Oh, we got the clamp going that way instead of this way. And it's on the same side, so it's all gonna be out of balance. Well, that's okay, it'll be all right. That's gonna drive somebody nuts right there. I put the bolts in different than they were from the factory. Looks like we have a skid plate that goes on there, or the little guard that goes under the transfer case left, the rear drive shaft. We need to tighten the front drive shaft still, obviously, but that's about it. Then we're almost done for real this time. Now we have to install the Z71 package. So this is the off-road package for your Chevy. Right here, which is, boys. Now you can go off-road anyway. You got this one and then you got the plastic one in the front there. We'll snug our drain back up here. Very gingerly. What's up, Mrs. O?
The only battery I can get today is the 24-month.
They're El Cheapo. What about the other napper? You might be screwed, folks. I swear I had a couple quarts of Auto Track 2 upstairs. I can't find it for the life of me. I don't know if any of the parts stores around here carry that. So I'm gonna have to do some looking. I think in the meantime, we can, obviously fill up the transmission, but let's stick that plug in there lightly. See what we can do here. Let's take and button this exhaust together here on the flange, and then we'll panic a little bit. Now this just had regular nuts and bolts in it when we took it apart originally, so I just put new 3/8 bolts in there. From the factory, that would have studs in it. The good news is, we called down the napper and they had some GM Auto Track 2 fluid in stock, 15 quarts of it. We only need 2, so I ordered 3. We're gonna fill this fella up with some Mobil 1 Synthetic LV ATF HP high performance formula for automatic transmissions. I ordered this right from General Motors from the Chevy garage, and this is what they sent. Smells yummy. We'll dump that in. I'm gonna start with 6. We'll put in 6 quarts, we'll fire it up. And it's not a big deal with the transfer case being empty. We're not gonna take it for a shakedown, but we can run it through its gears on the lift here. No load on it. It'll be okay. You have to trust me on that. Got the Auto Track 2. Fresh from napper. Thankfully they had it, because like a bonehead, man, I swear I have this upstairs. As soon as I get done with this, I'm gonna find it. You don't use it that often because we don't see too many of these older trucks in anymore. Most of these things have long since been in the crusher. Fluid's kind of neat. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's blue. So kind of a unique stuff. I don't know if there's any aftermarket compatibility with it, with any aftermarket transfer case fluids or anything. Oftentimes we'll see these transfer cases come in with, regular ATF in them. And usually we notice it when the transfer case is smoked. We drain it, we see it doesn't have any Auto Track 2 in it. We can't get this in here. So we're gonna take and push a couple quarts in here. Get it running. Take it for a shakedown. right out of it, so that's good. Everything looks pretty dry. Left it running for a while here, so it's pretty warmed up. Everything's kind of put back in its place. I don't think we missed a single clip bolt. The only thing we did different was we ran the bolts in opposite from what they were from the factory, but it doesn't really matter because it's not a flex fuel vehicle, so there's no sensor hanging off that, so it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Drive shafts are in and tight. Okay, let's take her for a toot. Just at the bottom of the hot mark here, right at that bottom dot, which is good. The train's certainly not hot yet. It's only been, engine temperature is about halfway up. So we're gonna have to go drive it. I gotta see if there's any adaptations we need to do first. So we're just gonna go in and reset the adaptations. I think that's all we have to do on this little fella. Boom. There we go, the victory drive. Hopefully. As long as it doesn't spread a bunch of parts in the bottom of the pan, we'll be happy. Transfer case can shift. 4 high, 2 high. Must be the auto button doesn't work. Probably never gets used. Yeah, 4 high definitely does. 2 high does. Let's make sure we have 4 low. Yep, I just heard the shift complete. Let's make sure it works. Oh yeah. Neutral. 4 high. 2 high. Now it seems to work and drive and shift nicely. Of course, it'll clean up a little bit as it makes its adaptations, but so far so good. There you have it, folks. Made it back to the shop. Everything seems good. Transmission seems to shift nicely, so we can't complain about that. I'm gonna just double check the fluid, take a spin underneath it, make sure everything's high and dry. If it's not, well, I'll bring you back along, but I think we're gonna be okay. I've had pretty good success with the old Jasper products, and can't really complain about them. So we're gonna leave it at that. I don't want you complaining about anything either in that comment section, but if you got something to say, put it down there. The questions, the comments, the concerns, the Insta, the Facebook. Just remember, viewers, if I can do it, you can do it. Thanks for watching.